Ricochet is a one-of-a-kind type of talent. The kind of guy who on the WWE roster sticks out not for the words he speaks into a microphone, but instead through his actions and insane athleticism. The guy in almost every sense of the word was and is a superhero, which to a particularly younger demographic of WWE fans is something that really inspired a lot of them. However, if you've been under a rock, you might not have heard the highlight of the night maybe making his exit from the WWE. The reasons for this are currently unknown, and it's technically not confirmed that he's actually leaving or not yet. Despite that though, his career is one I can't help but feel that the WWE failed him on. So today we're going to overview key aspects of that career and where I feel they let him down as well as where they succeeded. All to simply try and answer the question on if the WWE machine failed Ricochet. If you guys enjoy this video and want to see a full video documenting his entire career, I'll absolutely look to make one if this video hits 500 likes, which if you want to see, be sure to subscribe so you can catch that upload once it's out. Also, while we're at it, make sure to let me know how you feel about Ricochet in the comments down below. Right, so on January 16th, 2018, WWE announced via their website that Ricochet had signed with the company and would be reporting to their developmental brand NXT after being a celebrated indie performer across a myriad of brands. Ricky would make his television debut in the inaugural NXT North American Championship ladder match, where he would awe spectators with his insane moves and athleticism. This would very quickly impress Triple H and other higher-ups running NXT at the time. From here, he'd be slotted into a fun feud with Velveteen Dream, which is notable for this moment here. He would win the feud and move on to face then NXT North American Champion Adam Cole for the title at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, where the highlight of the night would continue his winning ways by capturing the championship. He would hold onto the title for over 5 months before dropping it to Johnny Gargano after a series of solid and fun defenses across those 5 months. From here, he would take part in and win the 2019 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic alongside his partner Aleister Black, whom he then unsuccessfully challenged for the NXT tag titles alongside, after which these two would be called up to the main roster as a tandem, which while both guys are great, they absolutely were something of a Franken team. Even still though, they challenged for the Raw tag titles together at Fastlane, as well as participated in a fatal 4-way tag title match at Mania for the SmackDown tag titles. Both times they were unsuccessful, but thankfully for both guys, they would be separated during the Superstar Shakeup, and Ricochet would end up on Raw. Then for his first singles match on the main roster, he would take on Robert Roode on the 22nd of April edition of the show, where he would take a pinfall loss against He Who Is Glorious. Now, I bring this up because much like many other things in this era of WWE, there was 0 point to this loss. It wasn't part of a proper big feud or anything, but Ricky still needed to eat the pin here, I guess. I won't make much a deal out of it, but just keep things like this in mind. A little less than a month after that, Ricochet would compete in the Money in the Bank ladder match, specifically the one where an unannounced and not legally in the match Brock Lesnar came in and won the match. Yeah, this was a little stupid, but hey, at least we got Brock Party. Now, despite starting out kinda shaky with his main roster booking, things began to look up for the highlight of the night on the June 17th episode of Raw, when he competed in and won a 5-man elimination match to become the #1 contender for the US title. He would take on then-champ Samoa Joe at Stomping Grounds, where he would defeat Joe for the title, marking his first time with a championship on the main roster. He would have a long and wonderful reign. It lasted 21 days. Yep, 21 days just to drop the title to AJ Styles at Extreme Rules before failing to regain the title again at SummerSlam. These losses would mark something of a trend for Ricochet, as from here the guy would just lose pretty much every match for the rest of 2020. The only notable exception is he won as a part of Team Hogan in the Hogan vs. Flair tag team match at Crown Jewel, which I can guarantee nobody watching this video even remembers happening. After this, the next notable thing he would even do is hoof Brock Lesnar in the nuts during the 2021 Rumble, allowing Drew McIntyre to eliminate the Beast from the match. And following this, he would of course lose that Rumble and Drew would go on to win it, but he would later be put in a triple threat match against Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins to determine who would challenge the Beast at Super Showdown. This match was set up seemingly to give Ricochet a shot to showcase his talents against Brock, who notoriously at this point in his career had a history of putting on great matches against smaller guys. So as you might imagine, the match ended in 2 minutes and made Ricochet look about as strong as Hercule Satan at the Cell Games. The booking and time given to this match was a clear sign of how Vince and the guys in charge saw him at the time. He was just fodder for Brock to smash up before his big clash with the Chosen One Drew McIntyre at Mania 36. And from here, Ricky would just keep on losing, putting on great awe-inspiring performances in the ring, but still losing, meaning that his stock dropped lower and lower by the day. That stock would drop even lower to the point where he was challenging for the 24/7 title, and he would even prove unsuccessful in challenging then 24/7 champion Reggie for the title, as their match would simply end in a no contest. A no contest for a joke title meant to be defended anywhere at any time under any circumstances. This is how far the guy fell from being a highlight, incredible signing from WWE to now being in their joke title division. And after this, he would just keep on losing or having no contests across different matches until he eventually landed a shot at Sami Zayn and the Intercontinental title. The match took place on the March 4th episode of SmackDown, where he would pick up the title from Zayn following interference from Johnny Knoxville. And if you're wondering why I don't really sound that excited or happy about it, this match and subsequent victory were pretty much only there to further an angle between Sami and Johnny ahead of their inevitable Mania match, which in fairness was really great, but that's not the point of this video. Despite being the Intercontinental Champion going into WrestleMania season, he didn't even get a match on the WrestleMania card with it across 2 nights of WrestleMania. It just makes me sad because since his arrival on the main roster, Ricochet has literally never been the main character of any story. At best, he's been a side piece, and even then he's not even been a featured side piece. He's like the coleslaw you get with a Cane's tender meal that you know you should have swapped for another piece of Texas toast. Fuck, I want some Texas toast. But seriously, he's never been the point of any story so far in his time on the main roster, and this trend would sadly continue throughout his IC title reign. He would have defenses, sure, like this fairly fun triple threat match against Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, as well as these less fun defenses against Jinder Mahal and Shanky. Then, if you didn't know, he would lose his Intercontinental title on June 10th to the Ring General Gunther, who I made a video covering from his time on the Indies until now, which you should totally check out after this video. Ricky's reign would last a total of 98 days, which in general is pretty solid, but even though he was a champion, he didn't really feel like it. And after losing the title, the guy just wouldn't do a lot. He would technically win the SmackDown World Cup to secure another shot at the IC title, but this would be yet another loss in a big match for the highlight of the night. Whereas his opponent and the guy he initially lost the IC title to would go on to have the longest Intercontinental title reign in history. He would also challenge Carmelo Hayes for the North American title at Worlds Collide, which was a great match, but yet again, Ricky would come up with yet another big loss. In fairness, this was probably the right booking decision considering Melo's momentum at the time. However, in a lot of ways, he was just becoming that guy on the roster who would have great matches but would always come up short, ultimately making him less believable as a challenger for championships. The final notable thing he would do in his WWE career so far would come a year and a half later, when he would win the tournament to crown an inaugural WWE Speed Champion, a title belt and match type built for fast-paced, gripping, and flippy style wrestling that Ricochet would be famous for. And he would hold onto that title for only 42 days before dropping it to Andrade. This was evidently done because he would be written off TV and out of storylines, thus dropping the title as a means to begin new stories for it. Well, if you can call them stories, considering the matches last about as long as some TikToks. He would then be written off WWE TV on the 10th of June episode of Raw, and seemingly that's going to be all we see from the highlight of the night on WWE television. It's honestly such a shame how his career ended up. And listen, I know somebody in the comments gonna say he was just a spot guy and a flippy wrestler with no charisma or mic skills, but genuinely you couldn't be more wrong. I'm not saying he's the second coming of Roddy Piper or that he's got it on the stick like CM Punk, but his promos and the general way he carried himself on the horn was a lot better than people gave him credit for, simply because he was never really given a chance to show that, which is ultimately a statement that could be used as a microcosm for how his overall career ended up in the WWE. This guy with boundless potential and the ability to capture the hearts and minds of millions across the world simply wasn't given a fair shake in his time with the WWE. And if he's out the door to another place like AEW or New Japan Pro Wrestling, I can only hope they give him the opportunity to shine. However, it is my personal hope and belief that he does stay with World Wrestling Entertainment. Not only is his fiance there, but with the right booking and the right guy behind him in the form of Triple H, I really reckon there's a chance we see him featured more prominently and more properly on the main roster now. You gotta remember, the guy's been injured for a lot of the time Triple H has been fully in charge, so Trips hasn't really had the opportunity to build a really good story around Ricochet yet. Also, no shade at AEW, but considering how ex-WWE guys have been featured over there so far, I really don't think that's the right place for a guy like him. But with all that being said, I'm curious, what do you think? Did the WWE fail here? Should Ricochet stay or should he go? And what do you think about him as a performer? Let me know in the comments down below. And hey ho, while you're headed down that way, just remember, if this video hits 500 likes, I'll be making a video documenting the full career of Ricochet, covering from his time on the indies until now. So just make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that once it's out. All that being said, I'm gonna dip. So as always, I hope you stay safe, and that was Dylightful.